Welcome to the Game of Life podcast, where we bring you inspiring softball stories, insightful tips from coaches and players, and explore how the game transcends its boundaries to become a metaphor for life. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, a casual fan, or someone just looking for inspiration, you're in for a treat. We'll unravel the tales that go beyond the scoreboard. Discover how perseverance and hard work on the field translates into resilience in your daily challenges. Learn about teamwork, leadership, and the unwavering spirit that fuels success, not just in sports, but in the game of life. What's up, Allie?
How we doing? Good to be back.
We're doing. What do you want to talk about tonight?
So I want to talk about, this is something you've always been good at, and I think you've instilled it a little bit in me, but I want to talk about just conversations with random people. I want to talk about, so I guess the first thing I'll ask the audience, if you're like, what does she mean by that? What are we talking about tonight? So I want you to picture yourself in a situation where maybe, if you're in college, it could be you sitting alone in the dining hall. If you're older, it could be you at a restaurant by yourself. If you're younger, it could be you walk into class for the first time and you don't know anybody. If you're sitting there and there's someone sitting right next to you, would you be comfortable talking to them? Yes or no? And I want just reflect on that for a minute. Yes or no? And that's kind of going to be the topic of conversation tonight on if the answer is yes, why is that a good thing? And if the answer is no, how can we help fix that? Because I think conversations are one of the coolest pieces of life, just meeting new people and learning more about them.
That's definitely something you learn. That's not something you're born with. I don't care what anybody says. If people think you're born with it, it just means you're okay with getting after it. Because to this day, I still laugh. Like I joke. Like I don't even know if I like being around people, and people laugh about that. Because in the mornings I do my walks, in the evenings I like my quiet time, but all day long it's just conversation, conversation, conversation. And I'm reflecting. I'm like, where do I get that from? Well, when I was growing up playing golf, my dad would drop me off at the golf course on Saturday. Now, the funny thing is, he would go play with his guys, and I'd just be on the putting green by myself. Like, I don't even know if that's legal in 2026 now. He'd just go, and I'd be sitting there. And then when it's time for me, when I think I wanted to play, I'd see a twosome or threesome on the first tee. And I just walk up to the tee and go, "Do you mind if I play with you?" And I was scared to death to do that. But the thing I wanted more than anything was to go play golf. So now it's round after round after round of playing with older people. Some were district attorneys to this day, still come in the tap house and say hi to me. Coaches, people, just dads that turned out they have kids in high school with me. And you have 4 hours on a golf course to just be talking to people and talking to people and talking to people. And I think there's nothing better that can be taught in sports than just being with other people and holding conversations. And now, I hope I didn't rant too much, and I hope that made a point.
No, it did. And I think it's one of those things, to your point. I agree. I don't think anybody's born with it. I think it's a little bit situational in the way that you grew up, the people you grew up around, and things like that. But I think it's really interesting because I do think it's one of those things. The way you get better at it is just by doing it. And I think sometimes, and again, I've never had a kid, so you'll have to vouch for this, but I see a lot of parents out there who their way of protecting their child is almost like not forcing them to have conversations, whether it's ordering their own food at the restaurant, ordering a pizza for the family, making your own appointments. Like it's all these little things that eventually compound. And then those are the same kids who they get to high school and they have, they're upset with their playing time, but they can't go talk to their coach because they don't have the skill set to do that because they've never had to do those little things that I mentioned. Or you get to college and you're a college athlete and now you're in a lecture with 400 kids and you have to go tell your professor that you're going to miss 2 out of the 3 exams for the semester. That's a little bit tougher than ordering a pizza on the phone when you're 15 years old. So I think it's interesting that like sometimes a parent's way of protecting their kid is not letting them do those things. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you had me a pizza story. You have to expand on the pizza story.
Yeah, so that one hit a little close to home for me because when how old was I, do we think?
I don't know, 12 maybe?
12? Yeah, I was gonna say 12. So, my mom well, we were all talking as a family, and I'm like, "We should get a pizza." And they're like, "Great idea, we'll get it if you call." And I'm like, "Never mind, abort mission, I don't want a pizza then," because I thought that was a really big deal. And my mom and my dad were like,
And this was before DoorDash and Instagram and apps, so you literally had to dial the phone and call.
yes. So I, took 10 minutes, practiced what I was gonna say in my head, got the courage to call, and I called and I ordered us this pizza for my family, for delivery, whatever. I told my mom the total price, and she goes, "Allie, that's a lot for a pizza for delivery. Did you call the right place?" Can anybody see where this story is going? I called the wrong place. So not only did I call the wrong place, I had to call that place back, cancel the pizza, and then I had to call the new place and order it again. So I got 3 times of practice in doing this. So that's why, if anybody has their video on or was listening, that's why my dad was giggling when I brought up that specific example.
But, at the end of the day, that's not a bad thing, like, those are those are leverage failures, as I like to say, like, okay, even if you failed and the pizza came because you didn't make the right call in time and we pay 20, $30 more for the pizza, like, that's not a big fail. That's a lesson. That's a huge lesson, and, whether it's making teams or talking to coaches or emailing people, I think today everybody just thinks about every single micro situation instead of big picture, like, is it really that big a deal if it fails?
And one of the biggest pieces of advice I would tell people is because I remember when I was a kid and I had anxiety over things like ordering a pizza or going on an appointment by myself and saying, "I'm Allie, like I'm here for my 8 o'clock appointment." I think what we do, and this is just human nature, is we play every scenario in our head. Like we try to guess, if they say
Yes.
this, I'm gonna say this back. What if this happens? What would I say? It's not worth it because usually what happens is the one scenario comes up that you didn't think about in your head. So then it was all just wasted time anyway. But I think for anybody out there listening who maybe they're thinking right now, "Oh, that's great for you guys, like, you seem outgoing," but I'm just not a people person, like, I'm type B, I'm not outgoing, I don't like talking to people. That's okay, but again, just being blunt, I challenge you to think when in life it's gonna get easier because if you're a high school or college kid out, you're gonna have to communicate, like, that is one of the things in this world, if you wanna reach your goals, at some point, you're gonna have to communicate with different people, whether it's at work, whether it's with family, maybe one of your friendships you're having a conflict with, and you're going to have to communicate through it. So I think right now, if you're in a position where, hey, somebody else does it for me, or I don't really need to communicate on these things because I'm not having any issues, you're almost doing yourself a disservice because when it comes time in life to have these more difficult conversations or have to talk to people, you're not going to have the practice of doing it in a smaller setting.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, if you can't do it presently, what makes you think you're gonna do it in the future? Whether it's sports or questioning an exam grade in a classroom or even just trying to communicate with your parents to understand why X, Y, or Z is not happening. You have to be able to just look somebody in the eye, sit down, and have that conversation.
And here's a hint too. I feel like a lot of times what makes people nervous is that, how am I going to be perceived or what are people going to think of me if I start talking? Here's the secret. Everybody's thinking about themselves. And I don't say that in a good way, but other people are doing the same exact thing. So when you go talk to somebody, focus on the connection. Don't necessarily focus on how am I coming across right now or is everything I'm saying perfect? Focus on getting to know that person and then thinking about questions that you might want to ask them. I mean, one really good example of this, if you guys don't know, my dad and my mom own a tap house in New York. And dad, why don't you talk about the way the tables are set up in your tap house and why you did it like that? Those big circle tables.
But yeah, I mean, we have so many big circle tables because when people come in, if even if they're by themselves or just with 2 people, when it gets really crowded, other people have to sit at the table, and you're just there, and you're just staring across from each other. It's like, why not be interested in someone else's adventure journey in life and ask a question? And it's so cool that that's what happens. More people make friends with each other at those tables and then come back because they're just like, "Oh, we talked to this person, we were sitting here, we were looking straight across at them, and we started talking, and then the rest is history."
Yeah, and maybe you're someone who's uncomfortable with conversation, and one piece of advice for that is maybe always have 5 questions in your head that you could ask somebody, right? If things get awkward, it's like, "What could I ask them?" And, for example, go-tos are if you've ever met someone, "Oh, are you from around here? Oh, what do you do for work? Do you play any sports? Like, what do you like to do in your free time?" Just stuff that allows them to open up, and I feel like always having a question bank, so to speak, in your head can help alleviate any awkwardness in the beginning of a conversation. And usually what happens is every time you ask a question, at least for me, I don't know, maybe this is a me thing, I get four more in my head and it just keeps going from there. But as long as you come to the table with two or three, the conversation is going to start flowing a little bit better there too.
Well, think about, I mean, whatever age you are, 15, 20, 20, 25, 50. Think about all you've done in life and all the adventures you've had. The person sitting across from you that you don't know has obviously had the same amount, or the same amount of opportunities to have all those adventures. So just let your imagination run wild and say, how many states have you been to? What's your favorite state? Have you ever been out of the country? Like, you
Mhm.
could start with so many random questions that just get the ball rolling. And the neat thing is, if you are willing to do that, 5 minutes later, there's probably something you both have in common.
I was just gonna say that. And one thing that just came to my head too, if people are like, I don't know how to come up with questions, what are the questions? An Uber is a perfect example of this. You're getting an Uber. Busy night? How long you been Ubering for? You almost done for the night? Like, it's the same questions every single time, and I think it might be a universal thing that everybody asks the same things, but that just came up in my head. And honestly, like, I'm even that is a good opportunity. Like, I remember when you were in Chicago, we were in an Uber and we chatted with the guy for like 45 minutes because we're like, "How did you get into being an Uber driver?" Blah blah blah. Like, it was awesome.
And remember, he was part of a band, and we looked him up online and saw
Yeah.
what he sang. I mean, it was crazy. But it's borderline. I joke, those commercials where first-time homeowners start asking questions that are awkward because they become like their parents. Do you know those commercials?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't wanna just ask vague, generic questions. You have to ask questions of interest. Like, you're looking at somebody and, like, I mean, Allie, you have a Binghamton hat. Where's that hat from? Because say I don't know what a Bearcat is, right? And
Mhm.
then you go from there. Or, I mean, you have to be specific to some extent.
Yeah, and I think too, like, some another thing I've heard people say out there is sometimes, and this is crazy to me, they're like, "Oh, I have friends, like, I know enough people." That is a crazy take to me because I love meeting new people. I think it's so fun. And, like, there's no limit on the number of people that you can have in your life. And I think you have no idea what you're going to learn from somebody or what experience they have that you might not have, or what door it could open for you, or a connection that it could make, or maybe they have something in common with a friend of yours and you put them in contact. Like, the way I think about it is I know when I moved out to Chicago, a lot of the friends I have now are mutual connections of other people. And it wasn't planned that way, but that's just the way that life goes is, "Oh, how'd you get introduced to her?" "Well, I know her sister," or "I coached her cousin." Like, there's just random things in life that bring you to meet so many people.
Every interaction is a chance to have the next best friend, the next story, the next chapter, the next job hire, right? The next relationship. I mean, it doesn't mean you just randomly trust everybody, but I mean, if you have a nice conversation with a person, there's so many people in the world that are thinking and talking and acting just like you, or they're just as motivated, or they just have so much inspiration. So, you know, just talk to them. You can find out in a minute or two if it's someone you'd be into. Like that's fine.
And this is a funny example from college, but I remember I had a class, I want to say it was my sophomore year, maybe, and three of my softball teammates were in it with me. And it was like a 300-person lecture. They wanted to sit in the back in like one of the back rows. I was like, well, I'm going to go sit somewhere else and talk to somebody. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm a sophomore in college. I want to go meet somebody else. So I actually went and just sat and I met a random girl. She was going to go to law school. She was a senior at the time. And this class was once a week for like 2 hours, but I got to know her, we chatted, and it was great, and I made a new connection. And I think college classes or even high school classes, I feel like everyone just puts their head down and doesn't wanna talk to each other, but all you have to do and it might feel forced at first, and what's the worst thing that happened is, okay, you walk out of the class no different than when you entered it if you tried to talk to somebody, but what I would do is I'd sit down and I'd be like, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Allie, blah, blah, blah," and I'd just start talking, and you can tell right away if they're interested in talking back or not, but I
Right.
remember in my econ major, there was a girl, and I think it was, like, the 2nd or 3rd class of the semester, I sat down, I was like, "Hi, I'm Allie," and she's like, "Hi, I'm so and so," and we've got so close that I still keep in contact with her sometimes, and she lives in New York. So, it's really unique what simply saying to somebody, "Hi, I'm Allie," can do like, it is incredible, but I feel like we get all these scenarios in our head or we get nervous that we just don't do that.
Yeah. And, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, when you're in a class with your softball teammates, you already know them. So like there's nothing that can happen from just sitting with them. Go sit with someone else. And at the next week you sit with someone else and someone else. And I mean,
And
every time
yeah.
you meet another human being, you have the opportunity to pursue something special.
And even I think if you're looking in an athletic setting, like all of us go to high school tryouts, college camps, like whatever you name it. I remember going to college camps and I'd introduce myself to people right off the bat. And some of them, and it'd be interesting because like maybe you're going to see them at the next tournament you go to. Maybe you'll never see them again and that's okay. But I'd show up and if you go to a college softball camp, if anybody out there is listening that's been, the first 15 minutes are really awkward because you're all there and you're all nervous and nobody's talking to each other. So I would just try to find someone and be like, hey, I'm Allie. Like, are you from here? Do you want to be my throwing partner? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you just start talking. And then sometimes what would actually happen is they'd say, oh, I'm here with so and so. Here's 4 other girls I'm with. So now I'm familiar with 6 girls at the camp and we haven't even started yet. So it's just these little interactions that just really make a difference.
There's no downside to just starting a conversation with another human being. I mean,
Hmm.
you can end it anytime you want, but there's no downside because it
Yeah.
might take you to where you want to go.
And I think like going back to college, it's another cool analogy because I remember by the time I was a junior, I would walk around campus and and it was a random day and I just realized I was doing this. On my walk from like practice to class, I waved to like 12 people. And my friend I was with was like, "Allie, who are these people?" I'm like, I've just met them at random spots." Like, it was a really cool thing to think about, and a similar thing happened when I moved to Chicago. So, this happened pretty recently. So, I've lived here for 3 years, and I went on a run, and, like, 3 cars honked at me. And I'm like, "How do I know this people are here?" It's just cool to see when you enter a new environment or a new community. All of a sudden one day, if you're doing things right and making the right connections, you're gonna look back and say, "Wow, I don't even remember a time when I didn't know people here," because I've just been making little bits of progress every day.
So, I mean, to recap, you never know when a conversation's going to help you, but it probably always will in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part is I feel like when you approach relationships in a non-transactional way, like you're not looking for anything from anybody else, that's usually when people help each other because you're not trying to get anything out of it. You're genuinely just meeting people, wanting to know more about them. But then like you said, "Oh, we found something in common. How can I help you here? You could help me there." Like there's just different ways, but ironically enough, I feel like when people go into relationships with a transactional motive, a lot of times that doesn't end up working out.
No, that's a good point. Like, you can't go and say, all right, I'm going to talk to 100 people and 75 of them are going to help me and 25 aren't. No, just go talk to 100 people. And it's intangible because there's no way to try to put a number on how many are going to help, how many aren't going to help, but you're going to be better off for it.
Yeah. I think my
Almost don't when you talk to people, don't just expect something back. Just put yourself out there when you talk to them and see what happens.
Yeah. Like another place this is a fiasco or a hot take is on airplanes because I feel like there's two type of people when you sit down and I will say I feel like context is important or reading the room. Like if someone sits down next to you and they have their AirPods in, maybe not the best time. But
Or
I
big
always
headphones
yeah, if they have their
and
headphones
and a blinding mask on, right? Like,
yeah, but if
they
not, I
don't
mean
want it.
I was on a flight a little bit ago, and this girl sat down next to me, and she was like, "Hi." I was like, "Hi," and we talked for 45 minutes. Like, the flight was only an hour, and it was almost over, but it was just cool. "What are you traveling for?" She was coming back from Europe, so it was just it's again, but it made the flight go by fast, and she had cool stories. So, it's just
But again,
interesting.
if both headphones are in and there's like an eye mask on and they're leaning
Yeah,
back as far as the seat could go, maybe that's not the person to talk to, right?
not the time. No, but good stuff. I think so
So,
if you're someone listening tonight, I challenge you to, in the next few days, just look at somebody and say, "Hi, I'm so and so," and see where it goes. That's it. It shouldn't be a hard task. If that scares you, too bad. We're gonna do it.
no, you know what? You know where the best place to do that is? I mean, I take my students there when they don't have an internship on a certain day. Coffee shops. You
Mhm.
go there, you sit down, there's tables all over the place. You sit down and say, "Hi, I'm so and so." And again, they may be on a laptop, they may be ready to settle in and do some work, but you'll know. Worst case scenario, they just say their name back and they don't want to talk, but it opens the door and then you can see if you can keep it open. And that's okay. Either way is okay.
Yeah, because I feel like in a reminder set, if you're still someone out there who's a little hesitant, it's human nature to crave connection. Like, that's something we're all put on this earth to do, I think. So when you go
Yes.
talk to somebody, just remember that. Like, we're here to make relationships, and it's an important, if not the most important part of life. So I think about it's low risk, high reward when you go talk to somebody is the best way that I could put it.
I like that. Low risk, high reward. We're keeping it at that.